May bugin na mirong ko, kangangan te mainging, sinori ay nanon tatayay, ay nang karawag te combined service ikay. Marari ki bugin na payay kanuan na konti ngapong, iyara katapo na ba na konti ngapong, anan kakawag, ngayari, kangay po ni kanda po yan te umanta po ki. Ang kanda kangay, yay tenan kaya kaya kakanan kawag irik, tenan ten si bugin te kamawa. Marakatan nga pa
Tuwe su sipo ako na mga roni rin nun o at tabi uwi nun ti tupong ngayo narawaki ari sina mga mo na mentayay bugin kanon dara maramang utapwas kato bugin pan kape na kikosan roni rin yon on kakuri na babuki at tamara kay di rin tam ni barmaka kay di na peratan kay aram naruruayo karukwatukin na baskani kulan na sumari Yesu. Amen.
sinastadi nga po ngayon, kanon na ratyon, tayo kami na mata. Tatayo yung kan, ya, kana ko, tatayo, na konti, the CFO, ibugin the boss, ibugin the Kiribati Mission Finance. Now, this time I give this time to our CFO, Mr. Fraser Alekalu, for the finance report for Kiribati SDA mission. Ambassador. ay may nawag the report the finance ita kataw na tawarira ke na kuya kain the media de bubusiya mo rin ako imi pa kamsi dogi na sinaman nga tayo kinna ma anano na pero kung tayo the reading ibukin na report sa nominating committee ay off the lights the sector lights the live kabarate pure off the live ang kanya tayo ka ay kamang kunan mga live ang kanta hindi na hindi post kambasin na po.
Good morning, everyone. Chair, officers, and delegates, I have the privilege of presenting the Kiribati Mission Finance Report for this session, covering the 5-year period from 2020 to 2024. At this juncture, I'd just like to acknowledge the finance team of Kiribati Mission, Sian Take, and Wai, and team leader now we have Elise from TPUM. This report reflects how God has led us financially, how we have used the resources entrusted to us, and what this means for our mission going forward. I would also like to acknowledge the support of the mission officers, the treasury team, the school, and the departmental directors, as well as TPUM and SPD, who work closely with us in this area. This report covers the financial performance and position of the mission for the years 2020-2024. By the way, you have the reports there with you, the printed copy, and you would have gone through the report yesterday and last night. The 2024 numbers are based on management accounts that are still subject to audit. You would have seen the basis of the financial information in the opening. But they give us a reliable picture of where we stand. Our financial story is not separate from our mission. It is closely aligned with the Kiribati Mission Strategic Plan and its pillars. We know discipleship, leadership, and governance, institutions, and community impact. The money we receive and spend is simply one way of expressing our commitment to those priorities. In the next few minutes, I will highlight the key trends, strengths and weaknesses, and then finish with some priorities for the next quinquennium. In summary, now this is, I'm not able to see the screen, but I hope it, okay. So this is the big picture. over this quinquennium, 4 out of 5 years recorded operating surpluses. And that is an encouraging picture. Only 2020 showed a deficit, which was a difficult starting point for us. And during those years, we had the COVID, yeah? We had COVID 2020, 2021, and pre-COVID challenges after that. So you would see that in the sets of financial statement, the combined one, it's a combined, a condensed financial statement that you have there in the report with notes that you can refer to. Across the 5 years combined, the mission recorded a cumulative net surplus of around 1 million. As a result, the denominational equity has grown significantly. So denominational equity is the worth of the organization. It's in some reports, it's referred to as owner's equity. Yeah? From a very low base of about $143,000 in 2020 to more than $900,000 by the end of last year, 2024. So we can say that the mission Now, looking more closely at the report, at the key messages, you can follow along in the report as well. Total income has increased by around 43% over the quinquennium, or roughly 9% per year on average. Within that, the mission, because the education, the school, of course, is part of the mission, especially related to Kauma. This is a great opportunity for mission through education, but it also introduces concentration and policy risk. That means, we rely on sort of a one-off grants or income at the expense of our normal income from our operation, which we must manage carefully. Overall, the mission now has a stronger financial buffer than before. But once again, cash flow pressure and weak liquidity remain concerns, and they require deliberate action. Now let's look more in detail into the income. So the chart that you see there, that's our tithe income. Gross tithe increased from around $278,000. 2020, you see the graph there, to about $444,000 in 2024. That represents average annual growth of around 12 to 13% over a very challenging economic period. After taking out the percentages to high organizations, we remit tithe back to the high organization. That's the portion that you see in that color at the bottom. That's what we are sending back to higher organization. So the retained tithe available for mission operation rose from about $227,000 to approximately $358,000. This positive trend speaks to the faithfulness of our members and local churches, and to the stewardship emphasis that has been made in recent years. We thank God for this, and we want to continue strengthening spiritual revival and stewardship education so that tithe remains strong and consistent. So you can see the trend. Tithe has really increased from 2020 to 2024. Offerings and donations have also increased over the quinquennium from around $28,000 in 2020 to roughly $73,000 in 2024. The pattern has been more uneven than tithe, with some spikes. Definitely in 2021, you will see that spike and dips along the way. And importantly, offering still represents a relative small base compared with tithe. That tells us there is real scope to grow our mission giving. Offerings are critical because they fund much of our evangelism budget, discipleship resources, and other projects. Strengthening holistic stewardship, not only tithe, but also free will offerings will be important if we want to resource future ministry more fully. So that chart there, maybe I'll just explain. It's probably not easy to read. The one you have there in the report probably is a bit different to here, but you will see it's in stake, yeah, the donation and offering. So if you look at the bottom end of that, the orange, it's orange here. That's the offering, yeah. That's the offering portion. The blue is the donation. So the spike that we see in 2021 is really donation, yeah. And the donation mainly is for the Adventist Hope Radio. During that year, we received donation from David Frayling, and there's some donation also from Australian Union Conference. And it's sort of a one-off. That's why you see the 2021 is spike. But if you want to see the level of offering, that's what you have there in color orange, yeah? So it is not, so this next chart here probably will give you the picture of the disparity or the gap between tithes and offering for the period. Tithe is the orange, gross tithe, and the planned giving donations. Okay, so the President probably will give an explanation just so that you understand. Thank you.
Asibuki age atangira te otan te naradatan Kiribati. Naron na tagina te wayo te kai tau ibukin te noran kanga te anga iroran te kabui ye noran apa ye tamarona inanon te mewa ni rikai anga nada buena pa te presente te naria indokira te terari te GPUM are naron na stagi na mai mai nare sipara are ria indokin dai na komendara ara kabuya ora karia ki angkan ibukin na mirongo ayora inganya tamu ini kanga te kabuya te karia yon Kiribati kamnora te kakura bubura ani orange te kabui kana yesan te karia ani buru anon kan ya punto sina pa kanga te naron naranga ki si kaka te kabui ma te karia ya ki basin na ko ki awarin te stewardship naron na tagin na wayo te kabui ya ko tara ko ni magina kon tiaswa anya pundi endo giria te karia ya ko ta nanora na kon tiaswa parian the offering ki agia jamata te pona kiai si ko kia mai nanora aisa ki te pona kiai ma ya singan na nanoran ara ko ni magyan kama ko nang kan nanora te kata marwa yon na yon na kon tini mawoni riganaro raram.
Thank you. So maybe just very quickly, this chart shows that while tithe has grown strongly over the quinquennium, offerings remain low by comparison. Across most years, offerings are equivalent to only 10 to 16% of tithe, with 2021 the main exception due to a one-off spike in special giving or donation. This indicates good faithfulness in returning tithe, but also highlights the significant scope to grow free will offerings to support the mission operation, the budget, health, media, youth, and the programs. Key points for you, just so that you know, our members are returning more and more tithe to the Lord, and we thank God for this faithfulness. However, offerings are much smaller than tithe in most years, which limits what we can do for frontline ministries and new initiative. One of our stewardship priorities for the next Kunkuniam is to intentionally lift offerings so that our giving for the mission keeps pace with returning of tithe. Now let's look at the education and government funding because it's the largest component of our income. Kauma Adventist High School provides significant earned income, and government grants have been especially strong in some years. For example, in 2023, when these two categories together made up the majority of our total income. This gives us opportunity for the mission through our schools, where we can influence students, families, and staff for Christ. At the same time, it creates risk. We are more exposed to changes in government policy, enrollments, and compliance requirements. Therefore, a close partnership between the mission and our education leaders is important so that our schools remain financially healthy, compliant with requirements, and family focused on our spiritual mission. Appropriation and other income from TPM and SPD, they are part of the income mix. This range from about $63,000 plus in 2020 to a higher level in 2021, because during that year we also received appropriation for the Hope Radio from and other operations, and then back to a more normalized figures by 2024. They are a tangible expression of the wider church family supporting the work here in Kiribati. We also have other income streams such as specific ministry and project funds, which can fluctuate from year to year depending on the programs being run. Appropriation and project funds should be used strategically to strengthen local capacity, systems, and frontline ministry, rather than to cover ongoing structural deficits. They are investment in long-term sustainability and mission impact. Now let's look at the income and expenses and net result. This is all combined in this chart here, just so that it's very brief. So this slide brings together income, expenses, and the net result for the Quinquinium. Total income has grown from around $860,000 in 2020 to over $1.2 million in 2024, with a peak of around $2.3 million in 2023, largely due to education income and grants. From 2021 onwards, the mission generally lived within its means because it is showing surpluses during those years, which allowed equity to grow. Now this is a very positive change compared to the previous years of deficit. Some of you would remember that we've been recording deficit as a mission. However, the larger surpluses were mainly driven by strong school income and government funding, not only by the tithe and offerings. So our challenge is to build a sustainable base of recurring income through faithful tithe, growing offerings, and stable school operations, rather than relying on one-off events. Yeah? Now, the next slide or chart here is an important one. This is the use of tithe and policy compliance. In each of the years, 2020 to 2024, retained tithe was fully applied to the tithe eligible cost, such as pastoral support, field and evangelism, and administration. So these are the eligible costs that tithe can be applied for. Yeah, there was no unspent tithe each year. That means tithe are fully used. In fact, tithe alone has not been sufficient to cover all of these eligible costs. For example, in 2024, available tithe was about 358,000, and you would see that in the tithe income, in the financial statement. That is the available tithe, retained tithe. While tithe eligible expenditure was over $615,000, leaving a shortfall of more than $258,000. So, in other words, this is the total tithe we receive. The eligible expenses that tithe can fund for the mission is 600. So we are short. In other words, we need more money outside of tithe to fund the operation of the mission. So that shortfall has been subsidized by other income sources, education income, grants, and offerings, appropriations. So while we are compliant in the use of tithe, we need to recognize that our wider income base is carrying a significant part of the ministry and administration cost. Now let's look at the financial position of the mission. This slide shows our financial position at the end of 2024. Total assets were around $2.03 million, liabilities about $1.1 million, resulting in equity of just over $933,000. Equity has increased by roughly $790,000 since 2020, which is a very significant improvement over the quinquennium. However, our current assets are dominated by receivables, around $1.47 million. That means the receivable is, what we yet to get. It's like those who owe us money. Yeah? While cash remains relatively low, and you can see that in the financial statement at just over $50,000. On the liability side, we carry substantial payables to denominational entities, mainly TPUM, as well as other creditors. So we are stronger in equity, but we must now focus on converting that strength into better cash and stronger day-to-day liquidity. That means cash, yeah? Because it's trapped in those receivables. Working capital is an important measure or indicator. Working capital measures the difference between current assets and current liabilities. That's the simplest definition of a working capital, and is a key indicator of our ability, of the mission ability, to meet commitments as they fall due. In 2020, available working capital was strongly negative, and of course, if you see the graph going down, yeah, that means negative. And the benchmark is the blue. That's where we should be if we are to maintain a healthy working capital. So in 2020, available working capital was strongly negative, around negative $485,000, equivalent to negative 6.4 months of core expenses. By 2024, that had improved to a positive $421,000, or about 5.2 months of core expenses. That's a big improvement of working capital, from negative in 2020 to a positive working capital in 2024. Even though it falls short a bit by, because 6 months is the benchmark, if you like, and this is by policy, 5.2 months is, we've reached that level in 2024. This is a very encouraging movement and brings us close to the SPD policy benchmark of 6 months of working capital. It shows the impact of the surpluses we have recorded in recent years. Our responsibility now is to protect and consolidate this improvement by realistic budgeting, careful spending, and avoiding new unfunded commitments. Now that's very important if we are to improve the working capital. Liquidity. Now this is the critical weakness that we have in the mission, is our liquidity problem. While working capital has improved, liquidity remains our most critical weakness. Liquidity looks specifically at liquid assets after allowing for short-term obligations. I think liquidity is the money we have in the bank. Yeah, that's the simplest definition. So across all 5 years, 2020 to 2024, our available liquid assets have been negative. In 2024, the liquidity shortfall was more than $850,000, equivalent to about negative 10.5 months of core expenses. In practical terms, this means that our operations are being funded by delaying payments, particularly to denominational entities. So, we operate, we have obligations, but we're not paying it, yeah? So that's why we're able to operate with a very tight cash. This situation makes us vulnerable to cash flow shocks and delays in receipts. Improving liquidity through better cash management, stronger collection of receivables, and a planned reduction in payables must be one of our top financial priorities for the next quinquennium. Governance, audit, and internal control. In the area of governance and internal control, the financial statements for 2020 to 2023 have been audited by the General Conference Auditing Service, GCAS, with the 2024 audit still to be completed. So the years 2020-2023 have been audited, yeah? Last month, actually, recently. The audits have identified recurring issues in areas such as documentation, reconciliations, receivables and payables management, and certain control procedures. These are not unique to Kiribati, but they do require our focused attention. The Finance Committee and Audit Committee play a vital role in monitoring these matters and ensuring follow-up on recommendations. We also need ongoing training and support for Treasury and school finance staff, and clear procedures to guide the daily work of the office. Sound governance and internal control are part of our spiritual responsibility. They protect the resources and the reputation of the church. Some risks and opportunities. When we stand back, we see both risks and opportunities. The main risks include our negative liquidity, high payables, large receivables, and dependence on school income and government grants. If not managed well, this could quickly erode the gains we have made. On the opportunity side, we have much stronger equity and improving working capital, growing tithe and offerings. We've seen the trend is going up, and strong education partnerships. The wider frameworks of TPUM and SPD for the coming years also provide guidance and potential support from the high organization. Our task as a mission executive is to manage these risks internally while seizing the opportunities God has placed before us. So our priorities for the next quinquennium, and this is finance focus, just finance focus only, priorities for 2025 to 2030. In response to this picture, we propose several key financial priorities for the next quinquennium. First, strengthen stewardship and grow offerings through clear teaching, testimonies, and transparent reporting back to members so they can see the impact of their giving. Second, improve liquidity and progressively reduce denominational payables, or the payables to the union, basically, following a realistic plan agreed with TPUM and other entities. Third, tighten the management of receivables, especially student debts, with clear priorities, payment plans, and consistent follow-up. Fourth, ensure that our budgets are aligned with the mission strategic plan and built on realistic income assumptions. So we continue to record surpluses and protect working capital. Finally, continue to strengthen governance and internal controls, including regular review of audit recommendations and policy compliance. So this is the end of our report. I'm giving the conclusion now and acknowledgement. We give thanks to God for His provision and for the faithfulness of our members, workers, and leaders during this quinquennium. We have moved from a weak starting position with low equity and deficits to a much stronger equity base and several years of surplus. At the same time, liquidity and cash flow remain serious challenges that we must address together. I would like to thank the mission officers, the president and his team, treasury staff, school principals, and school accountant, departmental leaders, as well as TPUM, SPD, RMS, and the General Conference Auditing Service for their partnership and support. May God continue to give us wisdom and faithfulness as we manage the resources entrusted to Kiribati Mission for His work. Chair, thank you. I'm happy to take any question after this report. Thank you very much.
Sauwa yun the one great. Thank you very much, Fraser, for the report on the finance. I think everybody listened, and kanin tayo kan ya kasikuan ako imi. Desira kin tatayay, mana resina busimaya te ribosi na non te tayo, okay? Ayan ako imi desira, desira doon naman iteranari tayo. Ayan mi mic tayo kate. Alam mo sinari, kaya tayo ni Mani, kamu kakam. Makasuko na ba tuwan na tamay kang kamay tapo na may ganda? Tuwan na may nuka. Our report is in English, so you can speak in English if you want to express yourself clearly, or otherwise you can speak in Kiribati.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Fraser, for the comprehensive report and seeing that there's an improvement over the past 5 years. And before we go on to the comments or the questions, I would like to request Mr. Chair, if he could explain, if somebody could explain what Fraser had already explained in English so that our participants here can understand the report well. This is the heart of what we should know as SDA, as church members. So I would like, Mr. Chair, if you could appoint somebody to translate or to go through the report again in Kiribati language so everybody here can understand. Thank you.
I wish we have that comment earlier. You can interfere with that, but it's all right. We try our best just to go through the summary with Fraser, and that's the main ones. And then I think I translate some of one of the main key areas that Fraser talked about, but we try to go back to the report and just go straight to the summary of some of the major important items that we need to look at. Fraser, you can go ahead with some of the slides that you think everybody, but I think everybody already received the report, eh? In the booklet and also in the distributed. Huh? They're out yesterday.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, but I just want everybody to understand in the Kiribati language because I know some of them, and this is technical terms that they have to really understand. So if you can assign somebody with an accounting background to explain what Fraser has already explained in English about the accounts.
Okay, our treasurer, she can able to help out with that. But please don't repeat from the beginning, yeah? Just go through some of the important items. Tewan na bayaran ni kakawag yung kay bari ponte tayo sa sirak. Kanaro na ba kam makiota? Kami ari kam tau ba itata ba bukimin tatayo ba kam makiota yay. Ani daw ba kakawag baka na pon kosa. Kaya bari pon kay sirak tayo ni kakaki tiran sirak. Okay? Ayari arakatan nga ba babag ba kanay pon iti ba kam makiota yay kam tarayo nun tiniposan bana pon kotak anam yita inon tatayo. Okay? Kamu tengah tuan apa ni? The terari sekolah neran apa the finance saya report na kita tayo. Ay pun na team sa ako ko mara tayo ni Kiribati dapat tayo. Ay tara mi report. Ano ko ino po kam kataya karikya ko atake. Sangan we give this time to Fraser and Sadak just to go through some of the important items and then we go to the questions and answers.
Thank you, Chair. So maybe what I can say here, in the last quinquennium or the last 5 years, 2020 to 2024, the mission finance has improved. Yeah? It has improved generally because if you look at the income, expenses, and the net result. Let me go to the.
Ita ba nang natata ikay naroon na deripos sa kota ikay. O yay te terare te kera ke roin te mani minay nanon Kiribati mission. Kapota waka ki meriri ka ke may maina. Family post ang ay yo kyo kinakoira. Ang ay si ripos rika. Ang kanaya kyo ki te ripos na kon chopis. Apun nan takanga pun na meter ay kakakokoro. Ngayang hindi tayo ngay nariyan ka ngaya miripos. Temane, o ani, itaw pa, hapon pere na tayo mimisinari. Ngayon ang kakawagin tayo na ko. Hamiripos ay nagin akong jobis. Panganakya teripos ay yukyuk. O napon na sinabi na raripos ay yung kain tayo. Ngayon ikaw ngaya, tanumanin tayo na niya karisa. O misinari, panariyan nukyuk na akong jobis. Payo ay ngaya, pusyay Kiribati mission. Ang kanakamako ko kya, ang ngayon na po sinan nararipos in tatayay. O karapain kami, ay kaitawang kami na mi tipo sa yukyukin tayo na yakari sa ikakokoro yon Kiribati. Paane ang ngaya iyo sin teripos in tatayay.
Yeah, thank you, Stan. So maybe if you just look at that chart there, you see that the orange graph or bar is higher than the blue. That means the mission is operating on a surplus. There is more income and the expenses is lower than the total income. So that's why you see the blue graph is below the orange one, except for 2020, the blue is higher than the orange. That's the only year that the mission recorded a deficit or a loss. So this picture here alone shows that the mission finances has improved. Yeah.
Kane nani yosi kanani te jakara ni ora en so ai bru o ye te yosi kai pa yara re enang doi re te mani aro kon jobis o e kai tara roi te nani ka pene mani ke ngai e busion te e roi re yara finance narun te riposa yosin te tai ta ka pene mani e bun kai tara roi te nan kare ke mani ai ka ro o roi re te rari akia te tarau.
So that's the operation, the income, expense. Yeah? But-
Ngane kani tanan mani ay karo kon jobis ta ngaya sita wi mi na pon ro roi kai tara roi tanan ka pen mani teriri kyan nang kana ki ro ko mi di pos me mi mani ya konan meet tanan ka pen mani are sina konan kai tara ina non teriri to wana me to wana.
Yeah, the challenge that the mission has faced in this report or as reported is the cash. Yeah, the cash. So we operating positively, but we have what is called in the accounting as payable. We have debt that is sitting in our books, and we have a large amount of receivable, those who owe us money, that is also sitting in the books, that is impacting the cash that we have. So, yeah.
Sinadai nan tere kai pa kidibes mission yai tara wai ka taka tenan tapa ke sinadai ka kaparai me bukin kai tara na ramane ya kitau na nonu peira men mi retain tenan ke apun warere ke aron nara ara kare ke mane te takario takapui o ane tapera ne sinabundia ka parai tara wai ka ne sagisi kai on tapa ka are sinadai ka parai ya tarau payainen teraren tenan titipu are tenan retain mendidika ke mai maine angaya epon wosi raken na konte tayayo sinadai ka parai tara wakan.
Maybe from this point on, if maybe they ask question, and maybe we can respond to them.
Rabbi talk about yasa te amoin de terari the finance yasa na nga naging tayo ay tao ba rin tere on matata. Sky tao ate ato ay bukin norakin tamaruan ariasan hindi ko po na mayrooming kami te kaya sa norin the finance yasa nori ay nanon tayo. Ate wana te ba si Harari si kan Desian Kiribati ato ay ba tao ba inanon te limawan di kayo Akia teta ya yasan dari yai ayah baka pa missionary. Ay riyan buni bukin abak masan rangin karoro tapi ming kami kahit di karisan kabani sak may kay pamay romi. Ma tuwan ito pa ya emosi na nun temuan mawan din kayo ni karukuang kay pa ni kabani tayan taraw naron ya tayo kinakintay ka na ko. Ake taman dahil kapag ko ibukin na rin mante tiyunin katapos tapi wana ban hindi ay nok awag kaya teman ya sinatawa ay require na rin nagkira the union. Okay? Ay ang kanya kangay. Bugin naratay. Ang kay tabi mawa di minisimin tabi matawa na yari kini po sa kananan ako. Ay garang kakawag. Ay rin nakanin kami ito sinag. Kaya kaki. Ang kanina ito sinagan na nakakata na pa yay tiyagyo. Takani kami atata. Ay mina. Sana ko na ba pa rin mina. Okay. Ang ato ko na tamay ko na konti.
Thank you, Fraser and Sunny, for the report. And I have got a question, Fraser. And maybe I would like the TPUM president and the SPD representative to note this, please. I noted in your report, this is the first time we see this report. I think this should have been sent maybe 2 months or 3 months prior to our assembly. And during your presentation, I could note that only last month or recently, that's what I quoted from what you said, that the accounts for 2020 to 2023 were audited completely. It's so sad to me because these are the 3 years and the audited just completed last month or recently. It is very important for us to know how the money is used, to see how transparency the mission is going on with the money being sent to the mission. But it's so sad because the audit has been just completed recently or just last month. And when I look through the report, there is no auditor's report that you stated in your report. And that is just, it's very sad because we do not know whether our accounts for 2022 to 2023 are qualified or not qualified. So it's something to improve on this. It's not something to criticize, but do not take me wrongly or negatively. But it's something to improve for the next 5 years, that all accounts should be audited every year so that we know how the money is used per year and how transparency the mission is doing its operation within the budget it's allocated for each year. And it's just a matter of transparency. We are Christian institution. This is a church, and we encourage transparency in our church that all accounts should be audited on timely manner. And looking at the report, it's 3 years just audited recently. In the government here, we have our accounts audited every year. After the completion of 1 year, we audited the next year. And I remember this, that I commented to you, Fraser, during our meeting, during our executive meeting, that I noted that the audited account should be done every year. And you explained, which I took it that time, that you said that no, we have the auditors have so much accounts to audit, and I asked if we can hire somebody, and then you say that there are principles that we have to comply with, and so that we leave the story there. But my proposal and my request, sincere request, since the TPUM president is here, the SPD representative here, that our accounts, Kiribati accounts, should be audited on time. And when we come to the Mangwata Board, the Assembly, we should not receive our account at the day it's going to be presented. It should be received months before we come to the Assembly, so that we can discuss. I'm sure all of these people do not have an accounting background, and these are technical terms we have to learn. And I sincerely request that all the accounts should be submitted 3 months, 4 months before our Mangwatap, so that everyone will go through it, study the terms, how we are progressing, and that's what I want to propose to the TPUM president. Sincerely request that our auditors are on time, and also that the opinion is given, because there is no opinion given in this report. Maybe there is a audited report, but only the extract from the audited report that it says in the report here. But anyway, there are always ways to improve, but we can improve for the next 5 years, that the account should be submitted on time. Accounts should be audited on timely manner and every year, so that we know how transparency the money is used by the mission. And maybe that's all I would like to say. And we thank you, Fraser, for your presentation. And we thank all of us for the effort we have made into the accounts for the 5 years. We know that we have increased a lot of surpluses, or there are deficiencies in the account, but anyway, those are the ones we have to improve on. And thank you so much, and I leave the floor to you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Your point is well taken. Yes, as you've mentioned correctly, the books were audited 2020 to 23 by the General Conference Auditing Service, and we've received a preliminary outcome of the audit, but the official audit report have not yet been released. But Yeah. So the issues that I highlighted in that audit report, they were the issues that were raised in this one here. That's the summary of the issues of the audit for those years. 2024 will be audited next year. So we can actually hire auditors locally. We can do that. They can audit the financial statement, and then the General Conference Audit Service will audit on the policy compliance. So that's possible. We will just have to look at the cost. What audit fees will the local audit firm will charge? Yeah? Because the auditors from the church, the cost is highly subsidized, so it will be less cost for the mission in regards to the audit fee. Yeah, I think what you've raised is very important, and we will be working to improve on having a timely audit, and that falls back to the accounts management or the bookkeeping at the local mission. We will support and ensure that the accounts are up to date, so that the audits can be scheduled on a yearly basis. So the points are well taken. Thank you.
Ne ton na ona re etekinda ne iran ke ya re bukin chote te ara ya nang jimi ana dia na taya re ponsira bataun chobi se ya ikaro tamakurin kapane na ye popok na kai ngai ya karoi angina ne tenan makuri ai na den me tata ne ba tia kam si ya kware re makuriana bukin si temena chometa ai senaria na taya ne me tata pa ami komenta penin well noted na ko ya na kai pa ngan ningai ta kata meron diri ke po nanun den mewan diri pa yangan busroi roya anakam Kiribati mission non benin noted yon narun taina na dia katwari dike pas noria nang pek te tarotet ayo pondik men nara makuri ngai ra kai ke me men ya bobok na kai ngai akata ne abun po kira me ke pa pon ngai ara metanui me the groundwork apun ngai ai karoi ba in kapene mais sina wasara kin tayai ba ina kakaya giri kana na dia ni popok pa yangan na koroi aron tamakuri ti account ke ba inang mais tamakuri na dia in korowak me ya giroi santai na dia in kanta ninga askara ba ya nera ara metanui ai kai na ye popok me na yo office na kona ami office ai Kiribati singa yan che
Rapa, jadi kemai Romi, ayah, akun merah.
Erapa, cie, erapa lagi di bos ayo, kau orang mais tirare, di rong sangat kita tanya warere kya, asina kita kau naro daring dang detail roi baik kesan katayan war-war kia. Pen utai na pen war-war di bos ayo kepung. Tabun sita bewa, ay kan highlights na detail ayo. Daran neresan dagina giron desa detail may main are. Sinabubusi ba di bos ayo. Tong kanaro na pa na konan pun air mo okay. Daran de standard yan de tirare de ifras na de di bos na kita na account sin ka to adi dikike. Ayo tuwa na dirare, kang adem makuri anak ko na nagota roy, merurungin natahag roy koran te botak tuwa na metowa, jero rin ako na nimuantay dare, nora ki kangang pekare ka ako na nikiperak, nimuantay, main na sirare, skegeri ka kiri, kimbas ka itaw ba sinora te dirare, kang atikikira ginanon te lipo sa iyo, na sadaya, ato asan dang nagapenya na ba korakoraya, kita beya ayo nagataya ni manage, ito ba ya kawag ba ina dari yang negara sini aku dari dia karya ni kapan? Tawannya di 1 point. Cakap wow, i capture dia gini kebar. Jangan account saya ya consolidated ke. Ausira kini kan ni, bang kanaro na ba consolidated. Ngai mana wujud kan ya kita ngota roy ba. Yang ada account sih ya di bos na kita mission ke kau me. to sinabubusi bang kanaro ba yung tiripo sa rin nina. Tinan consolidated account sa ika ina rin kunan kami anak ko kiroy. Pasang aroy no taroy ba. Inga kaino no ti bubuk inga to yara rik kibayong ne. Yay chokona roy make decision na ikana esi roy. Pangon konanda ni buka ke ari ni buka. Tawan de titirari. Tsaka wo kana ko nan kami anak ko kitinan account sa ika in kota kiroy ba. Inga na ribos di mission nga na ribos kaumay po ni Rona. Panutaw, kanya consolidated account sa iyo ay ki may data roy ganyan ako. Kaya nga tiribos sa sirin taray bigin ti mission na kaumay. Yan na ba itabi way ka si kunay tiribos sa iyo naron ya sana bente kinagba. Si kay na no ana opinion jodi diona. Ana ra ni kakawag ba sinatay. Sinakonan taray ba nga itiray kakapaka. Sinakonan ni Benendari. Ni bubog na ko yay ni katamero. Yan ang kakawag ka na ana opinion jodi ke. To jakawa na ba ikan na ilay chinay kay ba. Kaya na ba a consolidated dinan wari ay kay. Ay dinan footnote ay kasanga nagi. Si yare kay yakun te biya bayo. Yay te ba yagirang ngota roy te ba yo ba. The account sa tirari other revenue ke. Other revenue. Yon dinan other revenue ay kay ba. Mga karawagi nga para kiroy ba. Tira kan wan dinan other revenue ay okay. Na ti ba yay ikan na ila tin ba ebon still na ba nus madan de kan ni other revenue get account ni other revenue ke. Ang kana stara de other revenue ayo. Elang material ba sinada roy ba tira dinan gari ke man ay ka agyo si kay. Kana ako narigid ndare. Kaya bubusi nga ako narigin kami tata kiroy tinan other revenue ang kanaro na bayay tinan other expenses sinabubusi na ba na bon ko na be ni ka para agin bon ka kya kin metan ti account te other revenue or other expenses basang ko na roy nota yay yay kita bewa usiragi naron tinan are yay the cash management policy ito kapungan aki kanaro na ba yay kana yeso tawan dai da bitay yarari iya girang kapungan aki roy ito the policy ayun jaro na konan ndoko roy na kon reason ni bede skakawa dai na konan sinanu ko tautan kime e kakawa ga sina stick na kon the plan na ron ete kinak sina avoid na expense ay kanga aki na ron jarari to aja katauman e kito ana pon yay nagbusmaya ke taban de bubusiri ke ay yonos ke na ko ya kain nagi anday da be ya ka karawan teri boss pasang ne enage de issue ay kanga ya tonga de madang ba de asymmetry issue ke kanga the information de ya gitaw na koira ke na ko ya changes ba no taroy ni kanwan tirare ti account ayo ke da sa bubusiri tirare tararuakin digi de tirayo ko sinori na be kanga ya sen kapara ki benda na itera de CFO ke angai na be punarabay na be negosyo ra kanga ba song na be no taroy de ba ya sirare staraya ay kaawag bugin kiragen ti karesa arigi ara ko ay bugin tirare sibana na te ka te tu me enayay mananagin ba ni kapene ay nagiro kon tayare sina kaina no yay sina mengarare pirina kono kon tabot okay era ba te chairman
Araba sila kiron kurmera.
Thank you, Chair. Even though I don't understand any of the word you mentioned, but from explanation from Sian, if you go to notes, I'm not sure if you've read this, but note 4 to, the notes, you will see the detail of the other income. It's there in note 7. The notes there has the detail of the summary in the combined financial statement. Those notes will give you the details of all those, and this is pretty much standard. We don't report the transaction listing in this kind of financial statement, but the notes there are pretty standard. It has those. And we accept and we take note of the the timeliness of audit and the reports. And this is something that we will work together with the mission to improve so that the reports reported in a timely manner. As I've said, the audit opinion the audit report has not been released, but what we have here in the financial statement is what's been audited, and there are the adjustments that they've proposed, we've taken into account, and they've already in the books. What else? Yeah. So thank you for that question, and it's well noted. Thank you.
Raraba, ito ba, Raban, dapat naroon na si Songoraya Kina. Dapat na ba yung kawag the finance and the mission na kamatay, naroon na yakin na kita tayo. Yay, di audit in tayo na. Okay? Ano na agad ba ito na, akarog, isinanukun, ani kuna ni karoya, pari na audit na, ginto kinta tayo. Ano si tirong-rong tamaro, asang na kinta tayo. Ibukin terari, katamaruan na kanana nang hindi audit. Siguro ko na ba audit mandarari locally masinanori maron na costing may tao pati pa yakaw kasi nataya na mima na kanya kaya siya pa i-audit tayo na ko terari kabungan naging teman ya kabutagin teman and the mission. Ibugin wala rin na tayo tayo. I keep this time to Fraser to move the report for us to accept it.
Thank you, Chair. Before I move the motion to accept the report, this is not an excuse, but I just want to also mention that audits were done in 2021, and then we had the COVID. So auditors went back. They were recalled. So during that time, from that time, we were not able to get the auditors to come to audit our books until this year. So that's just an information. But we, as a team, in the finance, our team here in the mission, and our oversight team leader at the union, we will work very hard to improve on the recommendation of timely reporting. Accounts report should be given on a timely manner to allow for transparency and accountability. Thank you so much. And at this juncture, I'd like to move that we accept the finance report for Kiribati mission for this Kunkunam session 2025. Thank you.
The finance report has been moved. Any seconder? All in favor? Sa katiyan ni Paira, kada sumusmaya diri bosay. Araba. Amen. Ayo asang atibayin. Sorry, Pastor. You want to say something? Okay.
Chair, I'll ask you to translate for me. I left the Trans-Pacific Union 12 years ago.
And the Trans-Pacific, the Mawadirigin now.
And today, as I sit here and see the reports from Kiribati mission, notably here with the finance and taking into account a good, wise counsel about transparency. But for me, the big thing is seeing how the church has grown and seeing how tithe has almost doubled, and how that's the reflection of the strong mission of the church. Yes, there's wise counsel to improve, but we can all continue to improve. So I just want to commend the mission and thank you for a job well done.
Naroon ay yasan nurian tayo kasan ako. Nugiri kagaw na ako Kiribasin tayo. Sikay daw at tenahin tenahin advisor kasi ang anak ibugin kakawagin to the transparency ke terari the crash. inanon ay kaibon kanuan te terari tayo nagkakaibon ako kasi nariyain nagkiyakini pa na karawag. May larikin na sinoria ba Kiribati mission nesan gibarake na konte tewake at marwa naron na sinoria anta tayo ko tayo aron nami kanimaki kain te karesa norakin kaya norakin tayo sa etaporo aron nari noraki pa rikirakin the mission inanon te tayo kabasin na kapan sangat bayar di gunung bayo. Thank you very much, Pastor Mike, for the comment, and we appreciate the Lord's guidance throughout these 5 years, and we ask the Lord for His guidance and leading in the next 5 years. Dito yung kanano na ba sinangkaya na konti tayo na konti the chairman ibukin the denominating committee ada ngaya kaira denominating committee ani kota kimana ana sa grupok